What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the It's Just Work podcast, hosted by yours truly, Chuck Clemens and Stephen Hurley. Steve, what's up, my boy? What's going on?
It's going well. Excited
All right.
for first day of college hoops tomorrow.
First week. I'm excited, man. It's crazy. It's been a long time since Final Four championship last year, so I'm glad it's back. I feel like something's in the air. It's a little colder
Absolutely.
out now.
It's funny. I think tomorrow there's a game at 8 a.m., which is crazy.
8 a.m.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like two low major teams, I'm pretty sure, but it's crazy. I was like, wow.
Just starting early. They're
I
trying to
know.
get it going. They're
Yeah.
trying to get it going. That's funny. That's funny. But we, Steve and I, are going to do a weekly thing where we're going to give our picks for the week. So we're going to probably pick out probably 6 to 7 to 8 college basketball games that we want to highlight. And then we're just going to give our picks on it, give our insights. It's going to be a quick little thing where we talk about who we think's going to win and why. Steve, I didn't tell you this, but I think what we should do is track our records throughout the whole year and kind of see who has a better record by the end of the year. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, man, let's get right into it. Let's get right into it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We got Florida versus Arizona in Vegas on Monday. Two top 25 teams, two really good teams. What you got there?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm kind of excited to look at for Florida is their new starting lineup. Obviously, their two new backcourt guards with Xavier Lee from Princeton and Boogie Flan from Arkansas. Obviously, very talented, and last year their backcourt was a huge success for why they did so well.
Hmm.
But also, along with that, they're starting out, a new front court in terms of where all those guys are playing. So Thomas Hall, who last year played predominantly, I think, the four, is going to switch up to the three. So that would be interesting to see just from offensively what that could look like. Because obviously, with Alex Condon and Chinulu, that's a huge front court. So just seeing how the spacing will work and whatnot. But yeah, I'm excited to look out for that in terms of Florida.
Okay. Who's your pick? Who you got?
Ooh, Arizona's very good. Obviously, we broke down Kobe Pete a little bit in our kind of draft prospects breakdown. They have a good team coming back. I honestly like Arizona in this one. I think they're a little under the radar. I think they're one of my teams I highlighted that I liked going into the year. I think they'll come out with this one starting off 1-0 against
Yeah.
the reigning champs.
Yeah. I have the same exact thing. I think Arizona. I think they'll be a little bit more prepared, a little bit more ready right now. Like you kind of just highlighted with Florida. A lot of new pieces in different areas. You have two transfers coming in. Obviously, you have to get accustomed to lineup, accustomed to the system. Thomas Hall is gonna be, I think, probably the biggest X factor for them in terms of how well he can shoot from the perimeter. Because, like you said, he was just playing the four. He was playing down low a lot. So if he's not shooting at that high level, I think it'll be tough for them for spacing wise. I think teams will probably dig in and be able to like just sit in the paint versus them. So it'll be interesting to see there. I think for Arizona, kind of like I said, they kind of they have a senior point guard, Jaden Bradley, two very good freshmen coming in. I think they kind of have a not a ready piece for March yet, but I think that their team, their makeup so far is pretty good for this first week out. Games being played in Vegas. I think it'll be interesting to see how Xavier Lee does versus these bigger, stronger, better teams. So I think that'll be a really good test for him. But yeah, I think we'll go Arizona as well for this first one. Should be an interesting game though.
And one thing I think also for this game is kind of interesting as well. Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee really struggled to finish at the rim so far in their college careers. I was looking at a few just field goal stats around the rim for them. And Arizona, again, is a team that physically in the front court could really match up with Florida. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do well there because if Florida's going to have a tough time converting at the rim, it could be, a long day for them. But yeah, I think Arizona, they have some underrated pieces. But yeah, I guess we're both aligned on that.
Yep, yep. So hopefully we both do well tomorrow. That's on Monday. Next game, let's go Texas at Duke. How are we feeling, Steve?
Yeah, so I'm sure some people have seen it, but there was a clip of Sean Miller. I don't know if I sent it to you, and he's talking about Duke, and he's like, why are we playing Duke in the first game of the year? And that didn't really make me feel too good about picking Texas for this one. But Duke, I just think they have a lot of they're John Shire, his kind of identity, I think, over the past few years has been getting longer kind of wings and switchable guys on defense and playing that kind of physical brand of basketball with a lot of interchangeable parts. I think they just have a lot of talent. Obviously, Cam Boozer looked great in those exhibitions. A guy I'm kind of interested to see for them is Caleb Foster. I think he's been kind of rotational piece the first few years, but I'm interested to see is he a guy who can fill that kind of like Tyrese Proctor role of being a staple, or is he more of like a supplementary kind of piece and whatnot? But yeah, I think I like Duke in this one. Texas does have a lot of returning guys, but I just think kind of new staff. I kind of think that this year they're going to do very similar to last year. Just so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I think I'm some Duke fan, pretty biased, but I do think unbiasedly Duke will win this one. I think at first I think Duke will struggle a little bit because Texas team probably gonna be really physical, and Duke's kind of not young, but their better players are younger guys, so I think it'll be a pretty good test for them early on. But at the end of the day, I do think the talent of Duke will just kind of prevail. Cam Boozer's a beast. This is gonna be interesting to see with Caleb Foster. How is he able to run that team? Is he able to make sure everyone's in the right spots, run at a high level? I think he's gonna be a huge X factor for them. And also, you kind of said before, I think their size at all five positions for the most part will be huge for them because I think Texas has some smaller guards and Jordan Pope and well, Tremont Mark's 6'5", but I think Caleb Foster is a little bit taller than Pope, and I think size just throughout the whole starting five would be a really good piece for Duke, and I think it would be, like I said, a good first test, but I think Duke will kind of pull out towards the end just based off talent wise.
As a Duke fan yourself, who's a guy maybe from last year's team or coming in? Do you think's kind of flying under the radar and could have a bigger impact than what maybe the media or most people think?
Definitely Darren Harris. He was top 25 player. I think coming out of high school, he didn't really play that much last year.
Yep.
Stayed for this year, which is great. But I think he's someone that could come off the bench and give us a spark. He's a great shooter. I could definitely see him getting a little bit better again from pump fake, driving to the rim and finishing in that in between area. But I think he'll be a huge X factor off that bench just to bring some scoring, and some spark off the bench. So I'll be
Yeah.
interested to see how he does
And I
tomorrow.
think it'll be interesting to see. He's obviously a high level shooter along with Isaiah Evans. And you could see a lot of the stuff they ran last year, even for guys like Proctor and Knuppel, like having those guys, fill those roles. I think they should get a lot of quality shots.
Yeah, for
So it'll be
sure.
interesting to see.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's move on to your team, Bama versus St. John's this upcoming Saturday in MSG. That's gonna be a huge game.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm a huge St. John's fan, and I think they're a work in progress. Obviously, the strength of the team is the front court with Dylan Mitchell, Bryce Hopkins, and Zuby Ejiofor, and the guards are kind of a work in progress. Where Alabama as a team, the guards they're the best of the best. Whether it's Wrights, I don't know if Wrightshill's hurt, if he's going to come back yet, but I know that Phylon will definitely be there. Holloway, those guys are really solid players, and they have a few freshmen. I'm definitely interested to see how they pan out, but it's definitely going to be a close one. I don't think Alabama. I think the key in this game is just Alabama's front court. I just don't think can compete with St. John's, and I think St. John's first big home game. I think they're going to come out on top, but it's definitely going to be close. But it'll be a great game. Both teams want to get up and down. Great coaches, but I just think the front court of St. John's is just too much for Alabama, and the guards for St. John's. I think the talent level is not too far off from Bama, so I think at least they can compete. But I think the front court's just going to be way too much for Alabama.
Yeah. No, I think I'm on the same boat. I think St. John's front court is gonna be a little bit too physical for Bama starting off. I think Bama, they obviously want to get up and down. I think St. John's has that up and down flavor too, but I also think they could slow it down and make Bama work on the defensive end. Obviously, we know Bama hasn't really been the best defensive team these past few years, so I think it would be a little bit of struggle for them. St. John's will be in MSG back at home. I hope players like Ian Jackson, Joe San will kind of take that next step in terms of getting to that point of like where Patino sees them and how kind of the college basketball landscape kind of see them as being those lead guards that can kind of lead this front court. But I think at the end of the day, two very talented teams. I do think St. John's gonna pull this one out. I think it's gonna be a really good game though. Um, After this, let's go Kansas at UNC on Friday. This is gonna be an interesting game. I think both these teams are they could be great teams, but they could also be teams that cannot, they could take that downfall a little bit. So be a good first test. What you got there?
Yeah, so I watched a little bit of the UNC scrimmage versus BYU, and the first thing that sticks out again is the front court play with Vasar, Caleb Wilson as a freshman is very dominant. Um, so they definitely have a strong front court. Stevenson as well. I kind of Seth Trimble at the guard spot's a good player for them, but I question do they have the high end guard play to
Yeah.
really go far in March. And then Kansas, it's definitely the Darren Peterson show. He's
Hmm.
definitely a guy that's going to be controlling the pace and many possessions, if not all of them, for them offensively. Um, this is a tough game early in the year. It's at UNC, right?
I'm gonna see it actually at like Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Kansas.
Mm.
I think that you know this they've had it. The past 2 years have been a little bit of a down year for them in terms of where they were preseason, where they finished, but I think that their additions to the roster this year, they just fit, I would say, a little better.
Mm.
Bryson Tiller is an actually pretty interesting freshman, I believe he is. I
He's a
think
freshman.
he's someone I'm really interested to see because if he can develop, him and Flory could be a pretty dominant front court again for Kansas.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also think an underrated kind of thing for Kansas is the past few years their offense has been very dominated around Dickinson and
Mhm.
getting that high-low action. They actually added a former NBA coach to their bench, Jacques Vaughn, who used to coach the Nets, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, yep, yep.
And I think that's going to be a huge addition as we've seen over these years with NBA assistants or coaches coming to the college game, how that kind of diversifies their
Mhm.
offensive bag in terms of play calling. So I think that'll be a huge help. But I'm going to go Kansas here.
It's
I think they're
okay.
flying a little under the radar, but
Yeah. Well, this is our first one. We're going opposite. I'm gonna go UNC. I think UNC, Kansas is a whole new team for the most part.
yep,
You're really focusing on this one No, like I said, Darren Peterson's gonna run the show. You focus on a freshman to kind of come into UNC. It's gonna be loud, it's gonna be rowdy. First game, I think he's gonna struggle a little bit. I think UNC is just better as a team. I think they could put a lot of length on him with Caleb Wilson, put some quickness on him with Seth Trimble, kind of switch up his look and stuff like that. I think um, it's gonna be tough for him coming into a high intense environment. First game, I think UNC just a better team right now as a group. It's gonna be interesting to see how Kansas kind of uses Darren Peterson and everyone else around him. Um, but yeah, it hurts me to say this one, but I do think UNC is gonna pull this one out on Friday. But I think it'd be a really good game, really good test for these teams early on.
and I think it's important for the. I mean, obviously every game's important for all these teams, but for both of these teams, where the past few years they've definitely just, I would say, the bigger games, the underperforming, they haven't
Hmm.
had many signature kind of wins.
Hmm.
I think for these programs, whoever wins this game, it's going to propel them for the start of the year for
Yeah.
sure.
I
Just
think
getting that big one.
yeah, I think it'll be huge with the coaching standpoint as well. Like
Yep.
Hubert Davis, obviously he's been up and down, polarizing figure in the college world. And you have Bill Self, who's kind of he's a legend in this game, so he's been in these.
Right.
He's gonna know what to say to his team to motivate them to kind of be sharp and composed during this game. I think it'll be a huge coaching battle to see how they're gonna go back and forth, see what kind of chess moves they're playing against each other. I think
Absolutely.
that could be honestly. It's never on the coaches to win, but I think that could be a deciding factor to see like how the teams
Absolutely.
for sure.
Because
So
this game, as we know, is going to come down to the last 2, 3 minutes, most likely.
exactly, exactly,
So,
and
yeah.
that's when it's up to the coach to put these players in the right position. Let's go to Arkansas at Michigan State. It's gonna be, I think, a huge test for Arkansas early on. They're a team I'm high on. Going into a place like Michigan State though could be pretty tough. So, what's your outlook on that game?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think this is the classic game going into Michigan State. Many people, Michigan State is probably going to win this one, but I think a lot of people forget that Arkansas, they have a lot of experience in terms of playing in big games. Whether it's a tournament in the SEC, any road game in the SEC is extremely difficult. So going in to Michigan State is, in my opinion, not going to be like this daunting task. I just think they have a lot more talent than Michigan State. And I just think they're in the exhibitions they've been playing well. Michigan State, who is the guy? What's their team going to look like? They have some quality players, but Arkansas is a little bit more cohesion, a little bit more experience, a little bit more talent. I think they're going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot. This is what I've seen these past few years in terms of these early on games. I think honestly the talent kind of prevails early on. I think as you get later throughout the season, obviously like teams get much more cohesiveness and just get better as a team. But I think talent really is a not a deciding factor of all games, but I do think just early on, I think it's a really big factor so far. So I do have Arkansas winning this game. I do think these freshman guards, Stairs Acuff, Malik Thomas, it'll be a tough test for them early on because you're going to a Michigan State place where they're going to go hard. Like they're a team
Absolutely.
that just goes hard regardless of who comes in, whether it's on the road or at home. They have a very veteran point guard in Jeremy Fears, who is his fourth year there now. He's definitely someone that is going to be huge for them in terms of how he's going to run the show for them and their team just in general. But I do think Arkansas just has much more talent on their end from 1 through 8, and I do think that it'll just there's a better team. I think that Cal will put these players in the right position to go in there and just be ready and kind of get a dub in Michigan State. So I think it's gonna be a good game. I think all these games so far are gonna be really tight games.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if any team so far we've mentioned is gonna get blown out, but
The only team I'm kind of nervous about is Texas.
yeah,
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 I'm a little nervous about them, but everyone else should be. I mean, all these games are high level coaches. They're all, teams that have some talent. So it's going to be tough early in the year.
yeah, for sure. Last game, let's go BYU at Nova. AJ Dubani's first real college game versus a whole new Nova team staff, new everything. What you got there?
Yeah, so an interesting thing about this game is BYU last year played a lot of zone defense, more than the average team. And traditionally, Kevin Willard teams have not really been the best shooting teams. And
Mhm.
on top of that, this year, they just don't have the top end talent, in my opinion. They have very good point guard, freshman point guard, Caden Lewis, so I'm excited
Mhm.
to see. But yeah, I just think BYU, the talent here. This might be the game, in my opinion, where there's the biggest talent discrepancy between the
Yeah,
two teams.
yeah.
And I think Kevin Young's a good coach. I just think it's going to be it would take, in my opinion, like a Caden Lewis would have to go for like 30, and BYU probably playing poorly or not up to
Mhm.
their standards. So I'm going to go with BYU here. I just think there's too much talent and a lot of moving parts for Villanova, and I just don't see the talent.
Yeah, we're going five for six for today. We got five of the same
Wow.
teams. I have BYU as well. I just like I said, I think the talent can prevail. Um, I think it'll be a little bit tough for AJ early on, but I do think he's gonna get his. Rob Wright, we'll see how he does, and this will be a pretty big game early on. But I do think BYU's offense is just gonna be a lot for Nova's defense. Um, Nova has a whole new team, basically too, a whole new coaching staff as well. I think it's gonna be tough. It's tough for teams to have a whole new just makeup and lineup and everything to start out early and start and just win games, win big games. Um, and like I said again, I think the talent is like you kind of just said is much higher on BYU side. I think at the end of the day that will just prevail. So
Yeah.
um,
I
I could
think it's
definitely yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I think it's one thing also to not have continuity. That's one thing. But if you don't have the talent, then
Yeah,
it's like, I'm not saying Villanova doesn't have any talent at all. They definitely maybe make the tournament this year. But in terms of going against a top 10, 15, 20 team, if it's a far gap in talent along with not much continuity,
yeah.
it's tough.
Be tough. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yeah. So I mean, 5 for 6. I think I'm super excited to start this off. I think what Florida versus Arizona is the first game at
Yeah.
7 on Monday. That's gonna be definitely gonna be tapped into that. But yeah, we're gonna be tracking these records. Hopefully, we'll see by next week how we do. Hopefully, we all will. We can't go undefeated, both of us, but someone has to take a loss. But
Yeah.
yes, it's gonna be super excited to see these games this week. So.
Yeah. I'm excited as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, these are our picks for the week. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you guys soon.